Hi,
Hello.
how was your Friendsgiving protest on
Oh, it
Thursday?
was it was good. It wasn't we did yeah, it was just a gathering at a hall. It was a potluck. Um, I made four field roasts. Yeah, no, yeah, it was good. It was a good group of people. It was nice. How was your day? I know.
Okay, yeah, we haven't actually got to Turkey yet, but we've gone through some other interesting meals. So,
Yeah, what I know you don't always do
yeah,
traditional.
we did baked potato and stuffing stuffed baked
Oh,
potatoes,
nice.
which
Yes.
was pretty good. Um, we saw some movies. We saw a Red One.
Oh, okay. How was that?
It's worth it. It's worth it. I wouldn't see it. We saw it in the movie theater, but I would suggest seeing it at home
Yeah.
while doing something, No,
Yeah.
no, but it's good. The Rock is always, you know,
Yes, yes,
it's his typical sense of humor,
yes.
and the Gladiator too.
Oh, you did see that. How was that?
Well, I would say since I have a long history of seeing Hollywood Roman movies,
Yes.
in Rome,
Yeah.
Ben-Hur, and all of those things. They do get I mean, look, I'm not that old. I wasn't in Rome, in those days, but it seems to me they're becoming slightly more realistic.
Uh-huh.
References to Virgil, Marcus Aurelius. I mean, so they're kind of melding the big Hollywood gore with the themes that other people who've been to school associate Rome with. I
Yes,
mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so but it's still pleasantly silly. I mean,
Uh-huh.
but Denzel Washington's very good, and
Yes.
that was he's kind of a villain, so he did that very well. So yeah, so that's fine. Have you had bad weather, or did you have good weather? I can't
We've
remember.
had perfectly fine weather. It was supposed to be cloudy, but it was actually sunny. We've had fine weather. How is yours? I know you have some kind of Arctic lake river snow thing no?
No, 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 not this week. It's been very nice, actually. It's a bit cold, but it's been very nice. No, no, that's happening way upstate.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. And you were in Campbell Hall for the Thanksgiving?
Yeah, and we're here now. We're
Yeah.
going
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
tomorrow. Incidentally, program note, I'm going to Japan on Saturday, and I'll be gone a week.
Okay.
So I'll actually miss two Saturdays because I don't come back until the Sunday, a week from.
Okay. Yeah,
So
yeah.
But anyway, so
And
I'm kind of excited about going because I haven't been in a very long
I was about
time.
to say, yeah, no, yeah, how long has it been since you've been to Japan?
Since before COVID, well before
Yeah,
COVID.
yeah, yeah.
So
And what do you just sort of
I'm
general?
going to just to do some business and to see some people I
Yeah,
haven't seen, just to maintain ties.
yeah,
I don't want to be gruesome about it, but it could be the last time I go there. So I want to be aware of seeing certain people. So, I mean, I could maybe not, but
for sure. No, yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
have one friend there who's a little bit older than me, and I wanted to go and see him, but his daughter told me that his favorite hobby is going to the hospital. Well, in Japan, um, older men and women who are not particularly sick and
Mm-hmm,
who have some money
mm-hmm.
often go into the hospital like you might go to a hotel for a week,
Uh-huh.
and the hospitals kind of accommodate this.
Sure. No, sure.
It's
Um,
like they don't kick you out if you're paying for the room and
right.
you
No,
get
right.
service. And so I was very shocked years ago when somebody told me that a person who was a client, they were in the hospital. And I said, "Oh my goodness, I hope they're
Yeah.
going to be okay." And he said, "No, no, no, you don't understand. This is it's just it's kind of like going to the country.
Right. No, but okay. Have you been in a hospital? Because the
No,
only yeah.
no, no.
And that has to speak to the quality of the hospital, though, because I mean, here in America, I think there are people who have access to money who get medical care in excess of what is necessary or preventative, but not because they like the setting. I mean, no one like. I mean, in America, there are always clinical settings, no matter how much money you're paying, no matter how good the doctor is. Some of them have more sort of spa-like lobbies or whatever, but it's always kind of it's the hospital. I mean, my experience has been unless there are fancy hospitals in America I don't know about.
Well, there is, there are in some hospitals very expensive suites.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah.
one, one instance that I know of, it goes back a very long time, probably to the 90s, where a woman who was elderly, she was in her 80s, she wasn't particularly sick.
Yes.
Um, and she basically had her bedroom duplicated in a room in a major New York hospital, and
Yeah.
she lived there.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But
No, I believe that.
she also left them a lot of money,
Sure. 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 Sure.
a will, and they knew that.
Yeah. Well. Right. No. Right. That was part of the deal. But
So,
yeah.
but even if you're very wealthy, you can have very good, you can have better food and a nicer room, but they don't keep you any longer than they need to. In
Right.
other
No.
words,
Right.
you can't say, unless you're going to give them $50 million when you die, you
Right.
can't say, well, I just like to stay here for another.
Right. No. Right. Um. No, yeah, no, I think, well, again, because we just had our big sort of power outage, and that made me think there were hospitals running on generators, and, they're canceling elective surgeries during COVID. Okay, all right, biohacking, this idea of like millionaires and billionaires spending enormous amounts of money to sort of try and live forever or longevity, I mean, what thoughts on this do you?
I, yeah, I think that probably, I don't know if anybody has studied this, but you could probably, there might be, it would be interesting to know if there was a book of both economic or cultural studies that looked at the history of wealthy people doing various things to stay alive,
Mhm.
from what we would consider to be magic, to,
Can you hold on for 1 second? Excuse me. No, no, not today. Sorry. No, not right now. Not right now. Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
um, no, I think the idea of spending money to try to stay alive is probably goes back even thousands of years.
Sure. Sure.
So this is just I mean, scientific
Yes.
approach, as opposed to like, I don't know, a magical approach, or superstitious approach, or appeasing the gods approach.
Well, okay. Well, that's interesting you said that because I am thinking specifically of the Egyptians who kind of took it both ways, who kind of invented some of the earliest forms of surgery and really
Yeah,
inspecting parts of our
yeah,
body, but also then were really more focused on the afterlife and preserving sort of all your organs in various vessels in the.
yeah,
But
yeah.
again, but only for the wealthy or for the wealthiest, for the pharaohs, for the.
Pharaohs would have food and stuff when they
Yes.
got to the other side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I think Mary Baker Eddy was buried with a telephone in her coffin
Huh.
with an outside
Oh,
line.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, well, okay. That's very Victorian, very turn of the century. I mean,
Yeah.
there used to be like bells, and so people were convinced they were going to be buried alive, and they wanted all sorts. Or is that what that was for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think she was, as a Christian Scientist,
Mm.
she, I don't know what the afterlife belief is, but it's pretty strong.
Yes.
I think, yeah, I think what she wanted to do is to tell people what it was like.
I see. Yeah, 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 yeah.
But the phone never rang.
Right, no, right. Okay, but I guess this idea of sort of longevity and like, I mean, now there's a whole sort of industry around this, and I mean, it, would you want to live to be 120 if it means all you could eat was salmon and sweet potatoes, or you know what I mean? Like, I mean, there are sort of these things you can do, but what trade-off? I mean, you definitely eat more healthfully than you did maybe 20 years ago. I try to, but I'm still. I don't know. No, like where is the trade-off between I want to live forever and I want to live my life for you? I mean, it's a personal choice.
Um, I think living longer than almost everybody you know is, to me, really upsetting. That
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
idea of But here's something I did want to discuss, which is kind of pretty much on this
Yeah.
point, because the UK government just passed a bill which makes assisted suicide legal
Yes.
in England and Wales.
Sure.
And before that, um, an individual could go to Europe,
Mm-hmm.
but they'd have to do it totally by themselves. Even if they ordered something through the mail and their spouse or partner or housemate handed it to them, that person
Uh,
could be criminally
yeah,
charged.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it was a very lonely, okay. So that seemed to me, when I read that, I thought, well, that is fair and humane, right? Then I read a kind of an opposition position. There's a British actress who has a rare bone disease. She's disabled. She's in a long-running criminal show.
Uh-huh.
She's good in it. She's very smart. It's also, I think, apparent that her disease, she's not going to live forever. I mean, she may
Right.
make 50, but she's also, which I didn't know. I just recognized this because I'd watched the show. She is a big advocate for the disabled in England
Yes.
because she's got a,
Yes.
she's got a platform. She said she feels that it's not a good thing because she's saying that our entire culture devalues, not on a kind of almost a unconscious basis, devalues the disabled and the
Yes.
elderly,
Yes.
and therefore this encourages people to think, well, my family will be better off if I'm dead. I'm saving them money. They'll get the insurance. In other words, it's there's a downside to that, which is part of that conversation about how we value each individual. And I'd never thought of that, but it kind of makes
I am very torn on this. I have very strong feelings about personal liberty and choice. I
yes,
also have very strong feelings about the fact that at any age and in any physical condition, if someone is thinking about self-harm, maybe that should be addressed, not just sort of normalizing and rationalizing that. Maybe they need help before we just. But again, I feel strongly about self-choice. I do definitely think there are people who I can who have I've known people who have reached. I've lived a long life, I've lived a productive life, I've lived a happy life, and I feel like I'm done. And I think that that is I think that that is also valid. But I think that that is much, much rarer. And I think maybe, yeah, I'm more on the side of why are we normalizing this? Okay, Dolph Lundgren, the actor, was given, he just announced he's cancer free after 9 years, but he was told he had 2 years to live. if he operated only on that assumption, if
Yeah,
people, you know, I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
um,
Yeah, and that's kind of also part of her, this woman's argument, I think, which is that, is there's convenience, there's a last resort, you might feel terribly depressed for a period of time, and you
yes,
might, and I mean, all kinds of things that, yeah, but I don't think the solution is a legal ruling somehow. I don't,
right, yeah, right. No, and then back to the thing with the, I mean, well, no, back to the thing with the spouses and handing it to you. All that then feels to me, and this is again where I'm like, I am strongly in favor of personal choice, reproductive rights in America, where now not only are people being at risk of being criminally charged for their own reproductive care, but if you aid and abet someone, so now doctors are unwilling to write prescriptions, or again, partners
yeah.
or spouses for driving you, and so yeah, I don't. And again, like you said, it seems to make something that legal unpleasant. You know, let's just make it unpleasant. So you have to do it kind of alone, and rather than if you're going to make it illegal, rather than I don't know how to describe what I'm saying. I mean, I know what I'm saying, but we have this patchwork system where people would really love to ban abortion outright. I don't know.
I mean, there's what is legal, and then there's what the practice is on the ground.
Hmm.
And I'm sure actually that um, I'm sure that there are communities in the UK or doctors or whatever who have quietly done what they felt was morally
Sure.
responsible. But I don't think in that case, in that country, there's the kind of virulent policing that's going on in places like Texas,
Right.
where the doctors are genuinely afraid for their lives
Yeah.
if they provide an after pill, which is
Right.
it's just ludicrous
Yeah.
that should be in
Yeah.
that. So I don't know if this is in the same compartment, but no, it's not exactly. But Australia is banning social
Yes.
media.
So for yeah, no, they actually passed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So does that work? I mean, is it
Um.
is it a gesture?
Does that
A guide to parents? Is it a
Okay, no, no, no. This is, I am torn on this because the internet really gives unfettered access to really, really, I mean, things that you or I couldn't even imagine that are, I mean, what we would call the dark web, but I don't explore that part of it, but it's really easy. I mean, the same way that, sort of call 1-900 numbers were written on the bathroom stalls in my school. Now you have access to really, really, and I think an outright ban. 16 seems older to me. Oh, well, here's my thing with anything. How do they learn? I mean, the same thing with driving. Yes, I understand why we keep bumping driving ages up and saying, well, okay, if you're under 18, you can't drive at night or you can't drive with people in the vehicle. They have these incremental licenses now, and I kind of get that. But I also think you can't learn to do anything if you don't have access to it. So what are we saying, complete ban until you're 16 and then hand you a phone? Because I don't think that person is going to be any more equipped than someone who's been online since they were 9 or less. I mean, I think if you don't give someone, I think it has to be partnered with media literacy.
okay. So is it actually a an old adult's view of what is not realistic? And in fact, it's a kind of a shortcut idea, whereas the way to deal with it is to have educational system so that that kind of literacy is part of every child's education. I mean,
Well, yes, and I mean, well, everyone's education, including those older adults who are making the legislating, because yeah, no, because of something called a VPN, the children will very easily bypass this. The ones who are on the dark web now will have already figured out how to bypass this. The majority of children whose parents have moderate control, I mean moderate. Yeah, I think this will protect some children, but again, at what cost? And I think it's if you don't prepare, if you don't have access to the tools. So I'll give you an example. Because I have a public-facing email that it's on a website, I get spam all the time. I get those offers. I get gift card offers. This is your CEO, buy me gift card. I get things where it looks like my own agency's email, but they've, just one letter is misspelled. All that stuff. Obviously, they can't. I need to have access to my email. One thing that my job does is they send out like sort of test ones to see if we'll fall for it, and then if you fall for it, then you have to take like a course on media literacy that they've but the point being, you need access to the internet for teens. If you're talking about teens in Australia, maybe not on their own devices, maybe in classes, but they need to look at articles and look at the sources and start to understand what the Venn diagram of where media falls on I don't know, all of it. Media literacy. They need the skills, but you have to have access to it to navigate it.
Yeah. It's a relatively, I'm trying to think if this happened, if anything like this happened when people began to be able to read. I don't know, because it's not something like like smoking, it's not, or drinking, or being able to drive a car, because as you said, if you're suddenly given it at 16, right?
Yes.
Then you're probably going to go wild. So,
right. Well, no, right, and with no tool.
You will have had no experience with fake news, AI.
Yeah, no, you get a pop-up that says
you won't know how to edit for yourself for what you want.
Right. No, you won't know, how to tell if something's a credible source. You won't know. You'll get a pop-up that says Elon Musk wants you to invest in such and such, and you'll just click on I don't all of that stuff. The printing press. That's interesting. I think originally when the printing press became available, the first uses were it was the church. The Bible was almost immediately the first bestseller, and so they felt pretty confident in this new tool for their own propaganda. It's only once it became the price of printing presses went down, then that smaller, more then the actual populist messaging could come from the bottom up, and that's when it started to scare them. I think. I mean that.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because I found this out. I don't know, when I was researching for a lecture. I think anyway. The fact is that shortly after the Gutenberg Bible was published, especially in Italy, in Rome or in Venice, there were hundreds of publishers. People, it was like lots of publishers, set up shop and presses, and they started to print. Yes, mostly religious things, like not only Bibles, but prayer books and stuff like that. But within 30 or 40 years, most of them went out of business because there weren't enough people who could read.
Right, right.
No, I mean, they didn't figure that out. I mean, that it took 100 years or 50 or 100 years to build a middle people who could both have enough money to buy a book.
Yes.
And had been educated enough to be able to read it. But this doesn't require social media doesn't require any skills well, manual.
Right, no, right, well, right. No, you don't. Yes, no. And it's very, yes, and it's very intentionally designed that way. It's a very visual language. It's meant to transcend languages oftentimes. It's, yeah, it is intended to, yeah, you don't need literacy. But again, you do need media literacy, and all those enticing images and how they're manipulated, all the more reason that you need to, but you can hop right on it. You don't. Yeah, you don't need. No, yeah, you don't need to read.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens in Australia. If you know,
Yeah.
it seems to me 16 is arbitrary, and I don't know. I mean, I see kids, I see toddlers with, I don't think they've got iPhones, but they've got screens.
Yes, and they're
They
swiping, and they know. I mean, they can. The people are
yeah,
handing them. They can navigate YouTube and find their own videos. Parents just hand them the phone. They can
yeah,
unlock it. No, I see this all the time, and I mean, in my work, I go to programs where they have a TV on, another TV on in another room. Some kids are playing video games on a third TV, and then the infant, like you said, is sitting there swipe. And there is, I mean, yeah, this is, yeah. We live in a very very connected world, and um, no, I mean, I get it. Like, you're on a road trip, you're on an airplane. I mean, I know, I don't know, but I there are ways to do all those things without devices. There are ways to, you play road sign bingo, and but that that involves actually talking to your kid. I don't know. Now I'm getting very cynical. I don't know.
I know that when I have um, occasionally left my phone at home.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. I left it somewhere. I don't remember quite recently. I have a habit of placing it flat, face down on black surfaces.
Yes.
Uh, so I can lose it
Yeah.
for an hour or so. But I feel quite liberated.
No, so it's interesting. I mean, in my experience in the 2000s of travel is you have a device, but you don't have there's no Wi-Fi on the plane, or it costs money, and I'm not willing to pay for it, or
Yeah.
whatever. And so I've just gotten used to not having a device, and now it's even at like budget airlines like Frontier or whatever, they tend to include Wi-Fi. It's just so ubiquitous and expected. They include it, even if you can't bring a bag, but you can get free Wi-Fi. And it almost makes me mad because I like that. I do. I feel liberated. I actually feel. Um,
They can't get at you. Well,
um,
that's how I feel.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, no, but
nobody
I
can't
also.
get at me, but I feel that I've been excused for a
Oh,
while.
I think for me it's like a kind of a pious, virtuous, like I can self-entertain myself. I don't need a device, which is true.
Oh,
I can read a magazine or a book, or like even just the in-flight, like I can look out a window. I can
uh,
self-entertain, and that is, I think that is actually, that completely separate from media literacy, a skill that children, I don't necessarily need to be taught, but needs to be cultivated. Um, yeah.
you, sort of, you mean like disaster training them for the disaster of not having their device.
Well, yeah,
And
well.
at war, you don't have to get under the desk. This is what you do. Steps one, two, and three. Hi. Hello. Oh, what a sweetie. Oh,
Yes.
so, well, what's your t-shirt? That looks
Oh, it's a tofurkey, but I didn't actually have tofurkey this year. I had a field roast, but it's just tofurkey. Um, no, okay. What else? Or what? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying not to get I'm pretty good about I haven't gone cold turkey from politics, but I'm not really getting too exercised about anything yet. I mean, I enjoyed one article that caught my eye that had to do with the 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 cosmetic 50s all-American look that Trump seems to be searching for
Yes.
his
Yep.
appointees. That there's a certain, and it was illustrated. So, there's a strong jaw
Hmm.
or a blonde helmet. There's definitely, he's doing it. He's casting it.
But
So,
the question is how, to me, how, and what I'm curious what the think piece, how intentionally is that? Is he casting it for others because it is a production that he sees himself in charge of, or is he literally just watching Fox News late at night and saying, I like them because they say nice things about me? Is that, I mean, is it that,
I
is
think
it,
I think it's a combination. I think he's always, since he got into the TV business, in a sense, he's always been drawn to people who who have that kind of madman white person 1950s 1960s sort
yes,
of look and feel, and
yes,
that's his comfort.
yes,
This is when his, I don't know, just maybe it has to do with his friend, his dad or something,
yeah,
but he's drawn to that. It appeals to him. He probably feels that secretly he doesn't fit that mold enough,
uh-huh.
but he wants to surround himself with square-jawed. Who was Max Headroom? Was he
Yeah,
guys?
yeah, yeah, yes, yeah, yeah.
Those people and women in high heels and makeup and hairdos. I mean, and this to him is, and I think that he feels he's he confuses the acting with the personality
With the right, no, well,
all
and but
the
that's what's
time.
terrifying because he's putting them in charge of real agencies that need
Yes.
real. But no, and
They have real jobs. They're not.
but no, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he said he's open about it. I mean, he gives speeches and he says, yeah, he's a good looking guy, and like he's
Beautiful. He's beautiful. He's so good looking. I mean,
he's
he's
very oh okay. The thing I didn't actually read the article, but I saw a think piece on why are they all so absurdly tan? That's the thing. Him, RFK Jr. Like they're what is that? Like that's because
it's a Florida. Is it a Florida thing?
oh maybe it's just that simple. Okay, that I'm overthinking it, but I yeah. I mean I think it also has to do with some interpretation of health and vitality that just
Yes, it's old fashioned. It's Charles Atlas. I don't know.
yeah 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 yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's probably, yeah. But that's his, what it's probably more disturbing than anything is his fixation with a culture that is almost 100 years old.
Well, no, and yes, and I
The
mean
world is not no longer, most parts of the world, I don't know, maybe Australia. And in Australia, they all look red-faced, not
right, yeah, yeah.
creepy white guys.
But
Um,
yes, and but that I mean, and again, that was explicitly the promise. Progress. The choices were moving forward or a very specific promise to return to something that never existed for everyone, and you can't go back. It's not. That's not how it works. But they can promise you a bubble to live in. Yeah, I don't know. It's all. No, I agree with you though. I am finding I can I was worried like can I just not decompress from this intense political cycle and I am. I mean it's going to be the next 4 years. The picks are going to be the picks. The ones that make it through are the ones that make it through. I already said the people who don't get who they can't bypass the FBI and get somehow hammer through confirmations. They'll just install as like White House advisors, like Sebastian Gorka, who's just, I mean, he's the literally bottom of the barrel kind of people. But yeah, and there'll be, people like Mike Pillow guy will be slipping out the back door of the White House, and we'll have to hear about it, and it'll all be, but yeah, I don't need, I don't feel as, at least this week. We'll see how I feel next week or the week after. But for this week at least, I agree with you. I can start to decompress from that. Okay, something you brought up. We were talking about, what were we? We were talking about the Freddie Mercury movie. But you mentioned Queen after Freddie Mercury with Adam Lambert. Just thoughts in general on bands that go on without specifically their lead, but any member, but specifically their lead or principal songwriter.
Well, yeah, I'm more aware of this now than I ever was because I'm reading obituaries of people who were, either the last member of like.
Yes.
Oh, well, when I was watching Macy's Parade, right?
Yes, yeah.
And they had the Temptations, right?
Yes.
I said, how can they have the Temptations?
That's
they have one temptation. They do have one.
And sometimes none. And that actually, and Motown Motown did a lot of things marketing wise that set the tone for that. But oftentimes, no, there are a few things here. One, okay, yeah, no. But yeah, the first time I'd ever heard of like, how are these bands still touring? Oh, it's not the original members. Oftentimes it's their children, and
call themselves. There's obviously there are legal ways in which they can or cannot call themselves the original band, and they're not just a tribute. They're not a tribute band.
If you own the rights to the band, you can call yourself that band you can call whoever you want that band. So right now, for instance, Kiss, they've had their second farewell tour, but the next thing they want to do is avatars. We've already had a few holograms. We've had Tupac hologram. We've had Elvis hologram. They want to do this night after night in arenas for a tour. Kiss the holograms. Originally they were going to hire actors, but then they just cut the labor actor. They were literally going to hire Kiss replacements. They were going to retire, but because it's not even, remember, Kiss are characters. There's the Star Child, the Catman. They can be played by anyone. And since Ace Frehley and Peter Criss left in the 70s, they mostly have. It's mostly just been Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons anyway. So it's been them and two other guys for decades, and now why not four other guys? Or why no other guys, just a hologram? I mean, I take it to its logical conclusion. I'm actually, again, we'll talk about Motown being brilliant marketers, Kiss, obviously some of the most, I don't even think they're that great musicians, but some of the unquestionably most brilliant marketers. Yeah, sure, why not? I'm okay with this. I'm always okay with this. I think, again, because someone is still working, that one last remaining member, they have a right to earn money off. They didn't ask to still be alive while they're band, but they have a right to still be making music if they can still make music,
I think it's I think Kiss were very smart to think of that from the beginning. I don't know if they thought about it from the beginning, but if they could wear makeup and costumes they people didn't really need to know what they looked like, right?
Right.
So, okay, this is an interesting note because in the trailers that I saw today, there's a trailer for a movie which is a biopic about Robbie Williams.
Yes.
Robbie Williams in the movie is a chimpanzee, but everybody else is real. Is a talking chimpanzee. Is Robbie talking as Robbie Williams?
Yes.
And it's his life, it's his ups, his downs. He produced the movie.
I was going to say, okay.
His name is on it.
Yeah.
But he was chosen.
Yep.
Instead of Elton John choosing a guy that looked like him when he was a kid or whatever.
Yep.
Obviously chosen as an act of what I don't know what, avant-gardism or something, not to be presented as it's Yeah, it's the chimpanzee. But I
No,
mean, he,
yeah, knowing that his involvement, no, I absolutely get it. I was treated like a zoo animal. I was treated like a no, no, I told yes. If it had
okay,
been
good.
done,
That's good. Yeah, I understand that.
no,
Yeah.
if it had been uh yeah, no, if it hadn't been with his involvement, I would question
No,
what were
no,
the
it's his mother. His mother is there. I mean, everybody's in the movie.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's relatively true to his life, you know. Um, the
Okay.
band, pick up of a band, going along, going on his own.
No, I actually really liked this. No, I
No, I
that sounds.
think you like it. I think, yeah. I mean, I didn't dislike it. But it was really quite shocking.
Did it? I mean, uh, for the trailer? Were you given any context, or was it just suddenly a talking
No,
monkey? And
you weren't given any context at all. But it at the end, you know, the kind of blurbs that they had were from, I don't know what the magazines were. I don't know, Rolling Stone or something saying, you know, dazzlingly inventive or, you know, very imaginative and uh, you know, so
I
it could be
think
a huge flop. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how people take it because it's. I don't know if you're a teen fan of Robbie Williams, you might kind of feel cheated. I don't know.
I don't know. Okay. Well, I'm trying to process how famous is Robbie Williams now. I'm thinking of all the celebrities who have and have not had biopics.
I had to reach. I, I had to reach a bit when I first saw his name on the screen.
Which is to
And
say,
I had to think, now who's that? Oh, it's that guy.
I think it's a little bit smart because I think, especially in 2024, Robbie Williams biopic needs a gimmick. I don't think for it to. I think I'll be honest. No, I mean I don't think. Yeah, you don't need Elton. Elton John doesn't need a gimmick. I mean, though I can picture now the chimpanzee with the sparkle glass. I can picture that too. This could be a whole new genre. This could be this might
Yeah,
this might open
yeah.
up a okay. Leonardo DiCaprio in Laos. He's in his hotel. Apparently, there's a big performance for his arrival. Someone films him just walking past it, possibly just pretending to be on his phone. The point being, here's my thing again. Speaking of zoo animal, like why are we? You don't know Leonardo DiCaprio. He's just someone. He's in a hotel. I don't even know if they're. It is being reported by TMZ that this performance was a welcome to Leo, and he snubbed them. Like he snubbed the whole culture of Laos. It's this whole thing. Why does he have to acknowledge singers in the lobby of a hotel? He's a private citizen on his own. I don't know. Like
Okay.
whether they were there for him or not. Did they ask him if he wants that? Do celebrities want big fanfare when they show up? Typically, is that I don't. All of this feels weird to me. But it was a fake news cycle because I guess we don't have much else going on.
Okay. All I can say is this, mentioning not all the names. At an art fair, maybe 6 or 7 or years ago, it's probably longer, but I always say 6 or 7 years ago. There was he goes to art
Yeah,
fairs, right?
yeah, yeah.
Somebody I know very, very well, his age, not my age, his age, uh, knows him very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, the three of us were standing together.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, he was standing between me and my friend,
Okay.
sort of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was having a perfectly normal conversation with my friend. He's quite tall, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and he's standing there and he's got a baseball cap pulled down on his face.
Yes.
And he's standing there and he doesn't say anything,
Yes.
right? That's okay. But I mean, I wasn't upset that he didn't say anything, but I thought, this is this guy. This is how he behaves, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to, you know, like who's that? Will Farrell, who I've seen at a who is like, here I am,
Yeah,
it's me, it is me, this is my wife, hello,
yeah. No, yeah, yeah, yeah. It
So I can see either he's fed up, he's very shy, or he's a snob. I don't know. I mean, take your pick.
right, no, right. But well, and
He
again,
doesn't
if
he
that's
doesn't have
reliably
he doesn't have an obligation to give to say hello.
no, and but here's the part that I think, and this is a fascinating topic to me. That this sort of parasocial relationship people have with celebrity. I think Chapel Roan is a young artist who's really people have different feelings about how she's sort of pushed back on fans. But yeah, I think part of the confusion is they have their job, which is can feel you can feel connected to them because they are either in a movie that imparts emotion or they record music that imparts emotion that you feel connected to. Then they have meet and greets or fan events where in formal settings you may have interactions with them. And then they have their personal life. I think that's where the confusion comes is that if you encounter them then, they don't owe you anything, just like anyone else who's off duty. Do you expect I mean, your car
Oh,
mechanic to fix your car if you see him at the yeah,
well, it's like asking your doctor, someone who's a doctor at a party to look at your back or
which I
something.
guess people do. So I mean, so
I did I tell you about Tom Hanks?
no,
I was he eats breakfast sometimes at this place that's near where I work,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and I there were very few people in it early one morning, and I was sitting at the table next to where he was. I had a table for three. I was meeting somebody, so and he was in front of me facing another way. I didn't even see him. And I sat down, and he'd been reading the New York Times, and he'd put some of the pages, some that he sections on the chair next to me, which was at my table, right?
mhm,
So he says he looks up, he says, "Oh, sorry," and he goes and reaches
yeah.
and takes them, and I look up and I say, "Oh, you."
I
And he kind of smiles and goes back to reading the newspaper.
yeah.
So
Um,
I mean, I
no,
had to acknowledge it, but I certainly didn't want to intrude on his privacy. But he understood what I meant.
no, okay. My favorite celebrity sighting of all time, not surprisingly, it would be Robert Englund from Nightmare on Elm Street. But I didn't talk to him. This was around this time of year. It was what is called the Luminarias Walk in Santa Fe, where people put out the candles in the paper bags and the houses, and it's all very beautiful. And sort of the whole town shows up on Old Santa Fe Trail to walk around. I was with a group of very loud, rowdy teenagers. He was coming the opposite direction with two women who I'm assuming were relative. I don't know. I see him. We make eye contact. His eyes start to get wider again. My friends are loud. They're boisterous. I almost say, "Hey, that's Freddie." I don't. I yeah, no, I just chose not to. And then I look back, and he's looking back to see if we're gonna mob
Freddie
him,
did.
and I just sort of like nod, and you can see in his eyes just the like the I got a nod from him and a like almost not a thank you, but a
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that no, that was my. You don't always.
You know it's me. You let me go. That's fine. Yeah.
That's yes, no, and you don't always need the autograph. And that was I was a young adult, but that was it felt very grown up for me because I do collect autographs. I do love celebrities. I would have gotten all my friends to surround him, but I'm glad we didn't. I'm so glad I didn't ruin his Christmas. So
I call him Freddie because he's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
not actually called Freddie, but
I'm sure. Yeah, well, yeah. All right. Well, have a great no. Okay, have a great trip. I will see. Well, I mean, it'll
tell you
be
about it. I'll check in with you, okay?
okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. Check in. I love
Lots of
you.
love. Bye.
Bye.